What is up, my friends? Welcome back to another video, and in today's sample library review, we're going to be taking a look at a new library from Orchestral Tools called Duplex Saxophones. So I've always been on the look, for jazz libraries and big band libraries that sound convincing, and it's a very tough ask and a very tough job because jazz is such a style that is so varied and has so many different articulations that blend together in such a natural and flowing way that it's really hard to sample and mock up with sample libraries. And so basically when OT came up with Duplex Saxophones, I was definitely intrigued because I wanted to see what advancements could be made with this particular instrument. We already had instruments like Tenor Colossus and Birth of the Trumpet from straight ahead samples, which took a revolutionary approach in their delay concepts. But OT has always been strong with their regular legato, in my opinion, and I was definitely interested to see how it turned out with this library. So first of all, I want to thank OT for sending me a copy of the library to do a review. Always working with them is a pleasure because I trust their quality in their libraries, and it usually finds use in my work as a composer myself. And secondly, if you are interested in more of the libraries that I personally like to use myself, and the questions I always get about what libraries I use on a daily basis, I want to give you my sample library buyer's guide. It's the first link in the description box below. You can find all my recommendations there: strings, woodwinds, brass, percussion, piano libraries, jazz libraries, everything like that, all condensed into one essential guide. So if you want to check that out, it's totally yours for free. If you want to just click on the first link, and I'll send that to you your way. But let's get right into this library here. So the whole point of Duplex Saxophones is to give you a series of instruments from soprano sax all the way down to bari sax, and give you two styles of moods. So one for the more mellow and intimate style of playing, which they call blue, and the red hot mood, or the red mood, which is for like more exciting and growly type of exciting soloistic playing for the saxes. And I don't think there really is a library like this yet on the market, which is why I was so interested in it. Especially, considering that there are two moods. Something to think about is that they recorded this library with one velocity layer as well. So that just means that rather than sampling like piano notes, mezzo forte notes, fortissimo notes, they basically sampled only one dynamic layer, which they left up to the discretion of the performers. So what this does is it gives us flexibility in the shaping of the line to how we want it, but what it takes away is the adaptability of the dynamics, right? But the natural and the realistic sense of the line will come through because it's not having to crossfade or switch between any dynamic layers. So you reduce any chances of phasing between the different dynamics. So how does that all work in practice? Well, let's cover a few of the articulations here today, and I'll pull open the blue instruments here, and I've got an instance of the red alto sax as well. But for my purposes, I'm most likely going to be using the blue ones because I like slow kind of moving lines for this type of instrument. If they're a little faster, then yeah, I might use the red alto sax or the red saxes for that type of thing, like the faster swing types. But for slow ballads and more mellow types of music, the blues I think would work well. So let's start off with that. Let's take a look at what the folder structure contains. So we have the duplex saxes here in the sign player, and we open them both, and you see they have 4 saxes each, right? So blue of each, and then the red of each. And if we take a look at the articulations, you'll see they are relatively consistent between all of them. So you have sustains, legato, expressive sustains with legato, accented sustains, and sustains with bends, which we'll take a look at as well. And then you have all the other articulations here, which are the shorter ones. So marcatos, long and shorts, staccatos, doubles, triples, and falls. And if we take a look at the reds, we'll see that the articulations here are quite similar, but they do have an additional couple of articulations here. They have marcato long. No, I think they have marcato long here too. They mainly have growls and shakes, and also crescendo long and shorts. Those are the ones not present in the blue ones. So basically the blue instruments are more focused on like the legato and the more expressive nature of the instrument, while the reds give us these alternative articulations for those extra effects. So if we go into the first blue here, I've turned on the spot 1 microphone only, and you can see that I've selected the sustains plus legato patch. So let's have a listen to what this sounds like and see how it all fits together. Okay, so first impressions, you can hear that the legato is actually pretty smooth. And if I close my eyes, I can really imagine the player sitting with their instrument and just playing these notes. Now, that's not something I can say for a lot of instruments, but I've played with this library for a little bit, and I really can feel like I'm sitting in the room with the player and actually hear them playing the instrument, transitioning between the notes in a very smooth manner, which is a very pleasant surprise for me. And so that's just the spot one microphone. You can tell it's very intimate, it's very quiet, and very up close, right? So let's hear that same thing, but we'll pull in the spot two microphone, which gives us a slightly alternative close position. Right? So because you only have one velocity layer, there really is no phasing, which is really, really nice. And so you don't hear like a like when you're riding the mod wheel. It does give us a little bit of dynamic control. You can see I'm moving the mod wheel here. But if I just play one note, I'll start in the middle, I'll push it up, go all the way down. Right? There's at least like 6 to 8 dB of dynamic difference when you ride the mod wheel, but like the actual sound itself is not changing. The timbre itself is not changing because it's that one dynamic layer, right? So that's really cool. Let's go over to the presence mic number 1 and hear how that sounds. Okay, so a couple more things to note. Number one is that the sustains are not looped. So very similar to the Berlin soloists, woodwind soloists B and C, or 1 and 2, the sustains are basically played to the length of the discretion of the performer. So the performer will choose how long to hold the sustain, and OT did not loop the sample, which means that it can trail off very naturally. So when you lift up your finger, yes, it will cut off, but if you hold it down for a long time, the note will naturally cut off itself as well, which is the most realistic result. So it's totally up to you how you do that, but I like this approach because I always find that in my music, when I'm writing with instruments that do this, the tail or the natural ending of the note comes off basically when I want it to, even without me lifting up my finger. It just comes off. So that's one of the upsides. You get a more realistic tailing off of the notes, which is great. Let's hear how it sounds maybe if we combine the spot and the presence mic to get a more full body tone. Right, so you do hear a slight sucking effect for some of the transitions, especially with 2 of the microphone positions. So you might go with one, you might tweak the volume of one or the other. But that's just something to keep in mind. Nothing is going to be perfect, but it's already quite good for what it is, in my opinion. Let's go to maybe the expressive legato, or expressive sustain, I should say. And I believe this is just more of a quicker vibrato, if I'm not mistaken. So let's have a listen to this. So you know what's interesting? With this sustained accented plus legato, not only do you get an accented attack into the start of the note, but for those last couple of notes I held until the very end, you heard there's a little bit of a crescendo. So that's a bit of a stylistic flair that you might want to go for if you are, if you have a piece of music that is a little bit more punchy, or you want the saxophone to just cut through the mix a little bit more and it has a little more attitude. That might be something you're going for. And then finally we have the bends, which kind of goes like this. So you might be wondering, how did I activate those bends in the middle of the phrase? Well, all I did was I made sure I did not cover the notes, or I did not overlap the notes. So, when I play a note by itself without overlapping it with a previous note, then it's going to activate the bend on the start of each note. Then you have some riccados. Now, what's really cool is that the falls, you can actually hear those clicking noises coming, which is really cool. The doubles and triples don't seem to be, they seem to be triggering some staccato notes or some short variations. So I'll have to double check, maybe why they're not activating like a double tongue or a triple tongue type of thing. Or maybe I'm just misinterpreting the articulation altogether. But to me, those kind of sound like just, regular staccatos. But let's move on to the alto next. So I'm going to choose a mic position here. Let's go with maybe spot 2 for this one. Turn off the mics for the first soprano sax. And let's hear how this one goes. Cool. Let's move on to the expressive legato. So let's choose spot 1 for this one. Have a listen. Yeah, the legato transitions definitely sound louder for that one, but also the dynamic and the timbre of the player's instrument definitely sounds more intense there as well. So that kind of makes sense with the name. Let's go to the presence microphone here for the blue tenor sax, and here the expressive sustains here as well. So just make sure I have the right thing selected. You know what's also really cool is like right at the end of the longer line where I play some longer notes, etc. The very last note tends to cut off a little bit shorter, but if I'm playing a slower line, it feels like the length of the last note is actually a little bit longer. I don't know how that's working, but it's really cool. But let's actually move on to the tenor sax staccato as well. So let's hear what these staccatos are like. So just make sure I have the right thing here. Blue tenor over here. Let's turn on maybe a presence mic and hear some of these. So nice and punchy as you would expect, but you'll notice that in terms of the lengths of the staccatos, you only have like 2 lengths. So you have staccato, you have staccato short. In the marcatos, you do have a little more variation. You have long, short, and bold. So that's also good to know as well. Notice how that in the reds, you only have marcato long and short, and I do not see a marcato bold here. And actually, it's here in the red tenor saxophone. Cool. All right, let's move on to the bari sax, which is the last blue instrument I have here. So let's pull up another spot mic. I really appreciate libraries that can really expose their instruments in the spot microphones, because that's where a lot of the detail can be examined, you know? All right, so those are the blues. You'll notice in general the character is very warm and it's very intimate. The vibrato is on the slower side for sure. So I'm expecting the red to have a little more growl, a little more grit in the sound, and probably a little faster vibrato as well. So let's check this out. Let's choose maybe the spot and the presence mic here to layer together. That was a super long sustain there at the end. But it definitely seems like it's handling the quicker transitions a little bit better as well. Of course, the sound is definitely a lot brighter and more open, but I'm surprised the vibrato isn't that much faster. I think it's more like there's just in the intensity and the dynamic of the saxophone in general is a little bit more, you know? Let's hear this, the expressive sustains. Nice. Yeah, so in general, I think my preferred instruments are definitely the blue ones to start with because I feel like a lot of saxes. I remember there was ones from ADO as well. I think it's like some like fire saxophone or something, but they can handle those quick runs really well. It feels like I think I've heard the trumpet as well. It handles those fast legato transitions and the very quick passages in a very convincing manner. But doing it slowly and having it very expressive with connected legato is very tricky to do, especially with saxes. So it's a very pleasant surprise, a very, very cool experience to see these saxophones in action. Definitely appreciate how developers are consistently trying to push the boundaries of technology and just improve their sample libraries, time and time again. But basically, if you're looking for a saxophone library that kind of has a variety of styles, more suited to jazz playing, not as much classical playing, because this does have that baked in vibrato that you might not want in a classical context, for example. But if you are looking for those jazz saxes that can do, not only the loud and blaring styles, but also something that's a little more intimate and close, then I would definitely recommend taking a look at this library, because for me, it's one of the most convincing ones I've heard yet, and it doesn't even have a smart delay concept, but just the scripting itself is very solid in my opinion. So let me know what you think. If you have this library, do you like it? Do you think it complements the other jazz libraries you might have if you do have them? And maybe share what you don't like about it as well. Maybe where you feel it's limited, it could be improved. I know OT is usually quite receptive to criticism, if you have different thoughts on it. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in hearing your thoughts about that. And thank you again for watching. I want to give you my sample library buyer's guide. If you haven't downloaded it yet, it's totally free. But again, it's like a culmination of the sample libraries that I use on a daily basis, from all the orchestral sections to less popular categories. It's all in there. It's like a 30-40 page PDF if you want it. So hopefully it'll help you on your next purchase if you're interested. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.